So we've got the injunction from the High Court and it stops asylum seekers from being housed in Epping at the Bell Hotel.
Well, the Home Office had warned against it, saying such a ruling could undermine their asylum policies. But the judge disagreed, saying it wasn't right for the Home Secretary to intervene. Well,
now with Epping's victory, other councils are weighing up similar legal action, potentially creating a fresh headache for the authorities. Pension Minister Torsten Bell had this to say.
We'll carefully consider the court's judgment, but we inherited a completely broken asylum system, a disgraceful situation. Under the Conservatives, we had up to 400 asylum hotels. We brought those numbers down and we're working closely with communities to make sure we close all asylum hotels over the course of this Parliament.
Well, we're now joined by GBNews political correspondent Catherine Forster. Morning to you, Catherine. And this is a headache for the government now, isn't it? Just not only practically, but politically as well.
It's an absolute nightmare for the government. This is a government that said that they would smash the gangs. The number of people crossing the channel illegally on small boats is up 50% compared to where it was this time last year. They also promised to end the use of asylum hotels, but not, in fact, until the end of this Parliament. Now, Torsten Bell, you heard him there saying, look, we are using fewer asylum hotels. I think there was 400 in use when Labour came in. That's down to 210, but there's 32,000 asylum seekers still being put up in hotels at vast cost to the British taxpayer. Some of the contracts for those hotels run through till 2029, and the Home Office's worry now is that this injunction for the Bell Hotel in Epping, which has come about basically on a planning technicality. The court found that it didn't have a planning approval for a change of use from being a hotel to basically being a centre for migrants, and that's what caused this to be blocked. Not only will the Home Office have to find new accommodation for the 139 men currently staying there. And of course, worth bearing in mind that those protests that we're seeing on the screen now came about because an asylum seeker staying at the hotel was charged with sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl. So not only is this now a headache for the Home Office what to do with those specific asylum seekers, but it sets a precedent for many other councils across the country that are not happy with this situation to mount similar legal challenges, and who's to say that many of them might not be successful. Now, opposition parties, of course, have plenty to say about this. Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, saying bring back the Rwanda plan that was ready to go, that would have been a deterrent. Of course, it was never implemented, so we don't know whether it would have worked or not. Nigel Farage of Reform is saying that the 10 reform councils, reform-led councils, will look at taking similar legal action. There's a Tory-run Broxbourne Council is already seeking legal advice. So we could have dozens of these legal challenges, potentially dozens of rulings against the Home Office, and potentially many thousands of asylum seekers that the government will have to find alternative accommodation for at short notice.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private internet access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
Joining us now is former government advisor Jennifer Powers. And Jennifer, there are going to be practical and political consequences to what we've seen happen in Epping.
Good morning. Yes, well, communities have been paying the price for successive governments losing control of our borders. And with this High Court injunction, we now see a bit of power passing back to local communities. And I'm sure this will create a domino effect where quite a number of local authorities will be looking to see if they can do the same as Epping.
Goodness me, we are getting some feedback on this morning, and everybody in favour of what the court has ruled in this case. I'm so proud of what Epping's done. Peaceful, legal and effective reform is right. This needs to go national, says Steve, and that sort of reflects the views that are coming in, which we will try and reflect throughout the programme today. But, Jennifer, this couldn't necessarily be repeated around the rest of the country because this has happened for certain reasons, hasn't it?
It has. It's down to planning law. So it's not anything to do with the immigration status of the particular residents of the hotel. It's not because of some national policy. It is down to the Town and Country Planning Order of 1987. And so for once, we see planning, I think in many people's minds, planning law actually doing something they want to see. So the owner of the hotel did not apply for a change of use order. It used to be used for conferences and weddings and whatnot, and the Bell Hotel is now used exclusively to house 138 male asylum seekers. And so this fell foul of planning regulations, but that may well be the case in other jurisdictions. I mean, we've heard already of Broxbourne Council, who say that they're exploring whether they can take the same case to the courts. And I'm sure there'll be dozens, if not hundreds of other local authorities today looking up the same thing. And this does create a huge headache for the government, because where are they going to house asylum seekers? And Ellie, as you rightly say, there are talks about whether they can use abandoned RAF bases or other migrant camps. But that takes time.
In our introduction to you, we talked about former government advisor. If you were advising this government now, what would you be saying as regards immigration and migration and housing migrants around the country?
Well, I'd be saying we need to change the incentives, because at the moment, the UK continues to be a hugely attractive place to claim asylum. And because of that, because of the ability of these not always asylum seekers, but these economic refugees to work, to become delivery drivers, for instance, to be put up, to be given discounts in some cases for some local amenities, it is still hugely attractive. And so until we change the incentives, people will continue to come. So I would say the government really needs to get its act together and pull together a package which changes those incentives. And in terms of the housing policy, well, I think it just needs to be more ambitious. It needs to recognize that local communities don't want their local hotels taken over to house illegal immigrants, and that the government will need to think of maybe an offshore or somewhere more remote and more secure where asylum seekers can be housed.
What do you think the decision in Epping is going to mean for people across Britain who have legitimate concerns about what's happening in their community, and they've seen mums and dads take to the streets in Epping, and they've seen the High Court rule in their favour in Epping. Do you think this means that we're going to see more demonstrations?
Yes, I think it will be an encouragement. I mean, so often we protest and nothing happens on a whole variety of issues. I mean, I think back to the Iraq War, and there was the largest ever protest in British history, so some say, and that didn't stop the Iraq War going forward. But these protests in Epping and in other local communities around the country have made a difference. They've caused the council to go back to square one, be creative, and find a reason why this housing policy was not lawful. So I do think it will encourage other communities.
And what do you think it will mean for the asylum hotel system that this government relies on? I mean, what does this mean for the whole model?
Well, indeed, I think there will be a lot of owners of these hotels who have, perhaps understandably taken on the bookings from the government. It's provided them with a very steady income over many months and years. And they'll be, holding their breath to see what happens with their properties around the country. But I think similarly, a lot of communities within which these hotels reside will be thinking, well, gosh, what would happen if we went down and peacefully protested? Would our council make the effort to get legal advice and take this case to court? Could we maybe reclaim that hotel for local use? So I think it will be a huge encouragement.
Well, that's the question everywhere. Jennifer, really appreciate your take on things. Thank you very much indeed. We're going to get perspective on all of this from Clare Muldoon,
Good morning.
who's in reviewing the papers today. Claire, has this changed things? Do you think this is a victory for mums and dads?
It is to a certain extent, but the other issue with this is the High Court ruled that the Bell Hotel was being used improperly, i.e. it was in breach of its planning consent because it wasn't used as a hotel. Now, the judge in his ruling said that he didn't think there was anything surreptitious going on. He didn't think there was anything duplicitous. However, what they were doing, Simone Hotels, who own the Bell Hotel, what they did do was in breach of their rights, in breach of their contract, in terms of it should be as a hotel, not for housing asylum seekers or illegal immigrants. That is the key issue. Now, we've had Kemi Badenoch and Nigel Farage saying it's a victory. It's a victory for everyone locally to save women, save children and keep them safe.
We're going to see this repeated, aren't we?
That's the view. But have we heard from Ed Davey? Have we heard from the Greens? Have we heard from anyone else? A big silent no. We've also got the Notting Hill Carnival coming up this weekend.
And a bank holiday.
And a bank holiday. So Britain is already a tinterbox. The police are overly resourced, underly resourced in terms of the amount of overstretched. And we now think, well, what's going to happen? So we've got 14 days for the Bell Hotel to get rid of the asylum seekers that they're housing. Where are they going to go? Exactly. So it's all very well flag waving, getting the soundbites in, saying this is a great victory.
The thing is, Claire, they've got to be stopped at the port or in the sea. They've got to be saying, come no further, there it is, that's your lot, turn around, France, your problem.
But this has been an issue for ages. I don't know why it's just coming up to the surface now, OK? We've had 14 years of Conservative governments. We've had 1 year of this atrocious Labour government. What is happening? The answer, nothing, right? Nothing. And no one seems to be listening to us, the British public, for safeguarding people. I mean, that's what the government is there to do. That's what we should feel is safe, and we're not.
It's I totally get that, totally agree with you. But it's also how communities, and I use that word, just let's think what a community is or what it's supposed to be. They are distorted, they change beyond recognition. You don't know who you're going to bump into. You don't know why people are there. The rules begin to change in your area. Nothing to do with you. It's to do with everybody brought in. I have seen this for myself. And you look and you say, you just can't do this.
No. And the other big buzzword is integration. Well, I'm sorry, there is no integration. All I have seen and all I have witnessed is dilution. Dilution of morals, dilution of faith, dilution of safety. We need to get that back. We do. We need to get that back.
There are about 200 hotels that are housing asylum seekers around this country. So what do you think this means as a precedent for the government? If we see other mums and dads come out on the streets, if we see other legal courses of action being taken in other councils, I mean, what's the alternative?
That is the danger, because this hotel was given this temporary ban because it wasn't used for its purpose that it was granted its licence for. That is the issue. That is the key. Now, we've got 12 local red reform councils, and Farage has said that they are looking into taking taking their council-led hotels to court, the same as Epping District Council has done.
Right, very interesting. It will develop. Thank you so much for your views, Clare.